Hey everybody, thank you so much for showing up today. Here we are we're at NAPE, the NAPE Expo 2024, and we're really excited. Has some of our friends right here, military dogs, but I've got one of the best guests in the world, Rhett Bennett.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Rhett Bennett, Black Mountain.
Yep.
Man, I tell you what, if you're a mover and a shaker in the oil and gas industry, you know this guy. If you don't know him, you need to know him.
I appreciate that.
And you're a mover and a shaker.
Well, it does kind of feel like we're back, doesn't it? The energy and the activity on the floor.
This NAPE is crazy.
I agree with that.
I think I saw the Excel spreadsheet with all the names, like 7,800 or 8,000 or something.
Yep.
People attending this thing. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's up twice off what it was 2 or 3 years ago, coming out of the COVID kind of depth. So,
and if we get 20 people to listen to this podcast,
right.
If we get 20 people out of 8,000, listen to this podcast.
We'll be doing good. I know. I agree.
Hey, so where did you grow up? Tell me something about yourself.
Sure. No, happy to. So, actually grew up around coal mining in Eastern Kentucky. So that was what my family did. Going back, I would have been fourth generation. So all my aunts, uncles, cousins are still in the family business. Coal mining.
Wow.
So I went to University of Georgia.
Is that the hat? You get the hat on and the
going to ground.
Going to ground.
The whole bit.
Black.
That is exactly right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So
and you don't want to do that.
No. And
what? Why don't you want to do that?
Right. Yeah. Can't imagine why not. But yeah, my family had done that since 1912, continuous family operations. But I was more or less the black sheep, if you will, that kind of wanted to go out and do something different. Went to University of Georgia, graduating Georgia, came to Texas, got in oil and gas, loved it. It was a great fit. We've done it ever since. Just really like everything about it. The entrepreneurial spirit, the value creation, the people in the industry are up there with just any industry I can think of. So I took to it right away and knew I'd do it my whole career, and still here, still hanging in the game. So yeah.
So how many years did you start?
Yep. So I worked under a geologist, Doug Brown, in Dallas first couple years. So that would have been 04 to about 07, and then was young enough.
Brown was what company was Doug Brown?
His company's BXP Ltd. They do a lot of non-op packages, a lot within Texas, East Texas, but Oklahoma and all over. And so that's where I cut my teeth, working under Doug, understanding how the industry works, how you look at deals, and really was doing a lot of mineral royalty acquisition, a little bit of non-op for Doug. And then over the years, shifted into Black Mountain 07, 08, and really been growing it ever since. A lot of activity on the mineral royalty side, but over the years transitioned more to operations. So operated upstream, built a nice sized frac sand mining company. So we're entrepreneurial. If it is interesting, looks like it'll make money, I like to say we'll go try it. So that's kind of our
how
DNA.
How the frac sand? Can you kind of walk me?
Sure.
Where did you get your money from, and how?
Sure.
That whole thing. Just to. I love, and my Jay Young show is a lot about that maybe 16 to 22-year-old that are thinking, hey, what do I want to do with my life? And,
Sure.
And so how does it work?
And absolutely
smart guy like you, all of a sudden just
you just gotta
some frac sand and
have some risk tolerance. It starts with that. And fortunately, when you're young enough, you don't have a lot of
confidence, right?
Obligations, families, kids. So I was in my late 20s, and so in that scenario, it's let's give it a go. And so started Black Mountain, and then getting into frac sand specifically, we're just on the heels of doing our oil and gas deal. We sold to Marathon, and we were kind of thinking about what's next. And so NGP out of Dallas was my partner on the upstream deal. They're very entrepreneurial and a great partner. And we were looking at the frac sand industry. It was being disrupted. You were having discoveries of more in-basin sand. And that was, as we, predicted, I guess, correctly, it was going to displace northern white sand. And so we got really intrigued on that. Can we be a nimble early mover? And really started to build a franchise in West Texas, which took us also to South Texas, Eagle Ford, and Oklahoma for the Scoop Stack. It was a bit of that, just seeing that the world was going to be moving in a certain direction, and being able to have the confidence of your kind of capital partners. Hey, we should go do this, and we see the drill, and we can build a real team around this. So that was really,
the market was there. So you're saying, hey, okay, so the market's there.
Yep.
I've got the sand.
Yep.
and I can go get more and I
Yep.
can scale it. I know
For
that's
sure.
one thing NGP
Yep.
that they got to do is scale.
Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
you can scale it, find your product, and then what did you just supply the sand to companies like Frac or something?
Yeah. So
or
we, the game was really changing tremendously at that point when it was the old Northern White rail it down from Wisconsin. That was more a scenario of, the service providers were really in the middle, logistics heavy. But once in-basin sand started to stand up, operators started doing more direct deals with the sand companies because the sand was local, so less supply chain intensive. And so really that game started to change, and we took it cradle to grave as far as, really identifying the landowners, the ranches, buying those, so buying the reserves, building the operating mines, insofar as to doing sand silos, on-site delivery. So it was just kind of recreating a supply chain that was more, um, more compact, given that you're already in the basin. So
Yeah.
that's where the cost savings really came from.
Wow. How long before you started the idea to finish?
Yep.
Start to finish.
So
How long?
from when we hired, we went to a frac sand conference in San Antonio, and actually met.
2017.
I'm going to say that was 2017, I think. And met employee number one, Hayden Gillespie, who was really instrumental in the vision and coming on board and really kind of helping kind of co-found it. And so we had the vision. That was employee number one, and in less than 24 months, we had over 400 employees. It was a really neat story. So
wow.
Um,
Wow.
we could really see that in-basin sand was going to be the next iteration of, the proppant side of the industry. And so, once you saw it could work in West Texas, then it was, what about, other basins? And, is this applicable to, supply chains in the Eagle Ford and Oklahoma? And so it just really kind of caught fire. We were able to build a nice sized company, a real business that had strong earnings, real, space in the marketplace as far as providing those savings to operators. And so it was great. It was a lot of fun building it. Always going to look fondly on that one particularly.
Got 400 employees. Wow.
Yeah.
So did you get out before COVID, or was it after COVID that you sold?
We still own it.
Oh, you
so
still own
we still own
it?
it. We do. So yeah, we've been, kind of in distribution mode here for the last year or two. So just paid off debt, cash flowing, like many other companies within the energy industry. Sometimes the exit's a little more complex. And so you're seeing a lot more, even on the E&P side, a lot more companies go to, kind of distribution models, sending out dividends. And so that's, the mode that we're in with that business. And so hopefully at some point next couple of years, we'll find a nice market when equity markets are good and, you can achieve a nice exit. So, till then we'll just keep running it.
Yeah. Okay. Who's your buyer?
Ultimately you got to think it's got to goes the public route. And implied in that is probably the longer duration kind of hold period is, IPO markets really haven't been open. A lot of kind of that higher corporate level, M&A probably has been, slower, except the E&P guys have really kind of been consolidating over the last 6 or 12 months. And I think ultimately that'll shift to the OFS guys over the next 6 to 24 months. I think really you're seeing a lot of that heavy consolidation on your customer base. And so ultimately at some point that'll manifest itself on the supplier side. It should anyway, in an efficient market. So yeah.
Interesting. So I guess you spend the majority of your time.
I don't. We've got our own management team that does all the frac sand. I'm just an investor at this point. Most of my time would probably be spent, on the upstream, the new assets we acquired in South Texas, and a little bit also we do some utility scale energy storage. We do a little bit on energy transition, so that keeps us busy kind of in our downtime. So yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I know we're looking at one of your projects right now, in South Texas. And it was kind of funny because this industry, and this one thing I do preach to a lot of different people, and I talk about how small this industry is. And I see people walking by here, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm trying to not be disrespectful to the
right.
Our podcast host, but I'm seeing so many people. But I reached out to a group out of the Woodlands, Texas, geological group.
Sure.
And I said, hey, I need help with this asset that we have in Borden County because we can grow it to there's Mike Allen, that we can grow it to like 80,000 acres. But I said, it's just too much for me.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
I got so much acreage and I don't have the patience to
Sure.
dig down into this wolf camp to see
Yep.
where do you drill. And I was like, I called this geological guy that I know in the industry and I said, hey man, this is unbelievable. I said, I don't know how to do this. What do you think? And he goes, hey, ship it to this guy. So I shipped to this guy. Then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I'm looking at this other deal. And I'm like, look at your deal. And I'm
Yep.
like, I sent it to him and he goes, hey, I worked on that project with
Interesting.
Anadarko.
Sure. Back in the
Ryan
day.
Bailey. Ryan Bailey's a geologist.
Yep.
He worked on that deal and wanted Anadarko to drill the horizontal. Okay, so get this.
Interesting.
You're in Fort Worth.
Right.
The project's down in, I don't know, San Antonio somewhere.
Kind of close to Carrizo Springs, southwest San Antonio,
Yeah, okay.
Dimmitt County.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this guy's in the woodlands. And I'm just saying, hey, can you evaluate this prospect for me? And he's one of the guys that originated the prospect for Anadarko in the Eagleford. And he wanted to drill the Austin Chalk.
Fascinating. Yep.
We haven't negotiated our deal yet, so I kind of hate to tell him this because now he's going to use that against me. But,
Sure.
but still,
Well, sounds like he was a believer back in the day.
he's definitely a believer.
Yeah, it's fun to watch kind of how plays kind of blow through an area, but ultimately the basins kind of remain the same. And so playing with different formations, whether shallow or uphole or deeper, it's such a creative industry and the advancements you make along the way. Whereas a decade ago, you'd think it was either too tight or you couldn't stay in zone. I mean, all that from geosteering to the way we can, really be precise and surgical with fracs is really interesting. And so, yeah, you go back, to stuff in 2015 that you didn't think would work is working phenomenally well today. And all that's really a credit to the technical side of the industry that just continues to, push the envelope and understand more efficient methodologies for extracting hydrocarbons, which I'm sure 5 years from now, we'll be looking at stuff today that, we didn't think would work. And so that part's the neat part of the business, just the intellectual capacity of people to create value that, just continue.
I mean, look at the Permian, right? I mean,
Sure.
I remember drilling vertical wells in the 90s, early 2000s, whatever. We were drilling vertical wells out there and blowing right through them. And all of a sudden, horizontal drilling comes up.
Sure.
And this one of our geologists, Joe Simo at the time, said, why don't you guys just go horizontal in all these different deals? And we're like,
yep,
nobody goes horizontal in the wolf camp.
Sure.
Or the Spraberry or something. This is back. And all of a sudden, the Permian's now producing 5.6, 5.8 million barrels a day.
Right.
It wasn't a million.
Yep.
Now it's at 5 and all because of horizontal drilling and fracking.
Yep.
So technology is just,
it's incredible. And it's we'll kind of get to the geopolitical side in a second, but yeah, I mean, formations that we thought looked crappy a decade ago are prolific. It's amazing to watch. And yeah, I think, on the geopolitical side, I mean, it's just such a benefit to the country. I mean, obviously economically and the activity and the jobs, but from energy security and reliability, and that's the part that's underappreciated, that you go back and you look at what Europe went through with Russia and the gas cutoff and, us shipping LNG, which, got the moniker of freedom gas at the time. What a benefit to have allies in the world that can keep you from freezing to death or your economy's imploding because your energy costs soar like that. That part's underappreciated. And then you fast forward and, you get an election year and that's, oh my gosh, we're putting a pause on, all new LNG. And it's just, and I get it, there's, some political football kind of pandering with that, but it's unfortunate because it's such a good, many other countries in the world would be ecstatic to be blessed with the resources we are, and to be energy independent. And so to really kind of neglect and throw a wet blanket on that type of activity, that is so beneficial, from the workers in the field all the way to your national interests. It's one of those things, part of the game you got to deal with.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow. That's great. I tell you what, we could start on LNG and we'd be there for another hour.
Oh, I know.
And we need to wrap this thing up. We got a lot of things. I know you got.
Sure.
Today is the most important day at NAPE. I mean, it's like
it is. It's the big one.
I got to blow through this whole thing too, and I figure out who, what, when, where. So I'll tell you what, Rhett Bennett, and you're at Black Mountain.
Yep.
blackmtn.com. Is that it?
blackmtn.com. So short
Black,
for
okay.
mountain.
Black
MTN.
Mountain. Just Google Black Mountain, Rhett Bennett. This guy right here has been a legend in our industry and you know, hard work. And that's
It
what
is.
this industry really does take. But I'll tell you what, once you put the work in and you know, prices don't crunch you, I guess.
That's right.
You got
That's
to
right.
make sure you're on the right side of the commodity price. But
Yep.
this industry is really, really great. And I'm really excited about
It's
it.
a wonderful industry.
And Rhett, so great. So great
Thanks
to
for
meet
having
you.
me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you
I
so
enjoyed
much.
it.
And everybody, thank you. This is our second episode at NAPE 2024 and Rhett Bennett with
Hope to-
Black Mountain.
Hope to
Thank
come
you.
back and see you soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.